This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Kia ora, good evening. Welcome to the South Today. I'm Daryl Baser. Tomorrow, New Zealand begins the transition to Level 2 restrictions in the response to the spread of COVID-19. In an announcement late this afternoon, Health Minister David Clark said the government has listened to concerns about funeral and tangihanga sizes. Dr Clark says following consultation with iwi, funeral directors and religious groups, from tomorrow, funeral directors can apply for an extension to have up to 50 people at a farewell gathering. At this afternoon's media announcement, the government says for the second day running there have been no new cases of COVID-19. However, Dr Ashley Bloomfield says while the nation is doing well, we need to remain vigilant through Level 2.
We're looking forward to re-establishing some of the routines and rhythms of our near-normal lives. Good hand hygiene continues to be paramount, simplest and most effective tool we have to keep COVID-19 at bay. Social gatherings are a maximum of 10 people at once, and please keep track of where you have been to help us with contact tracing in case it is needed. So today's figures do reinforce that we are on the right path, that we are maintaining the gains made through alert levels 4 and 3, and we're heading for success. But as you will have seen overnight from other jurisdictions, this is a stubborn virus, and we don't want to be going down the path where we see spikes again. So we can't afford to give away the progress we've made.
It is one of the most basic of human instincts to gather and grieve when we lose a loved one. We have listened to those concerns. This morning I spoke with several funeral directors. The Prime Minister spoke with church leaders, and I understand Minister Henare and Davis have spoken with iwi leaders. I'm pleased to announce that we have found a sensible solution that keeps people safe and allows more flexibility around funerals and tangihanga.
And stay tuned to Channel 39 to see today's full announcement. One of the most anticipated aspects of going down to Level 2 is shops across the country reopening to the public. The South Today spoke to two local businesses about how they've weathered the 2 months with little or no income and what the future holds for them.
Shops everywhere were still closed to the public today, but inside, staff were getting ready to reopen their doors to the public for tomorrow morning.
Yeah, the wages subsidy was a huge help. It basically provided a security for all the staff that we had at the time of the lockdown, which was vitally important for their mental health and security, and also for the business. It allowed us to retain all the staff that we had on before.
So we have been working through using this time to really get the store tidy again, stock counts. We still have been doing online orders throughout the whole time, but up until Level 3 is when we came back in and we could, because we've got such a lovely big store, we have been able to be spread out and maintain that social distancing and having staff in separate areas, cleaning storerooms that we haven't really had the chance to get to in the past. But we are really excited to open the doors tomorrow to our customers.
Small suppliers especially will have found this time very hard. I got notice yesterday of one supplier that won't be able to supply anymore. So there are people going out of business because of this, which is a great pity.
Getting all of our paperwork ready for people so they can sign in when they come in for tracing. We'll be using an app that customers can use. You can see we've a really big store, so we're lucky in that respect that we can maintain those social distancing in the store. Yeah.
We need people to be able to come back and be able to party properly before we actually make any money. Otherwise it's pretty much a loss-making venture. So we are hopeful that things will turn around. Yeah.
Food banks across the south are seeing a rising number of families beginning to struggle financially during the COVID-19 pandemic. and demand for food parcels is expected to increase further when the government's wage subsidy ends.
Southland Food Bank is just one of many food banks across the region, noticing an increase in demand as families struggle with the financial strain of COVID-19. Chairman Peter Swain says they're helping out about 10 families a day, and he's predicting it could get worse.
Because next week the wage subsidy will sort of ease up a bit, and the income will drop back and people have got the bills to pay, and that's when the food bank's going to be very helpful for them.
Salvation Army Community Ministries Coordinator Brenda King says the demand for food parcels has pretty much doubled.
So normally we'd be doing about 25 to 30 parcels a week, but these days with COVID-19 we're doing more like 50 to 60 some days, some weeks, and we are just doing phone interviews, and well actually we're not even doing phone interviews now, we're just taking names from civil defence and pushing through the parcels, delivering them.
Luckily, food banks have also noticed a 20% increase in donations over the lockdown period.
Gratifying, and the people are very generous with giving of food, etc. So it's been good,
Donations to the region's food banks can be made online as well as at most supermarkets. In Invercargill, the South Today.
And still to come on the South Today, we see if the Reserve Bank held the official cash rate at its record low, and have a chat with Dunedin's Mayor about what the city could look like under COVID Level 2 restrictions. See you after the break. Welcome back. The Reserve Bank has announced no change to the official cash rate, keeping it at a record low of 0.25%. The central bank did, however, suggest it remains open to dropping the benchmark interest rate at a later stage if needed. The global economic disruption caused by the COVID-19 pandemic is expected to persist and lead to lower economic growth, employment and inflation in New Zealand and abroad. In today's statement, the Reserve Bank says one silver lining of the record low rate means New Zealanders will continue to enjoy record low interest rates on mortgage payments. New Zealand is set to begin the transition into Level 2 response to the COVID-19 pandemic tomorrow. Dunedin's Mayor Aaron Hawkins caught up via Zoom to outline what the city will look like under Level 2 restrictions, including a controversial push for a very slow traffic flow on Dunedin's George Street.
Thanks for joining us today, Mayor Hawkins.
Thanks, Tim.
So tomorrow we move into Level 2. What changes with the council? What's opening, that sort of thing? What can we expect to happen maybe over the next week? What will be staged?
Yeah, it's been a hectic few days for council staff coming to terms with what Alert Level 2 means for our facilities and how to make sure that we can reopen them as soon as we can, but also ensure that people can use them safely. So from Thursday, the Green Island landfill and transfer station will be open for waste and recycling drop-off, though the rummage store remains closed. Playgrounds reopen and there'll be signage up reminding people about hygiene before and after use. Over the weekend, Toi Otago Settlers Museum and the Dunedin Public Art Gallery should be open on Saturday, and I should say for all of these things. It's possible that they may slip by a day or two as we work through the logistics. Sports grounds hopefully open again over the weekend, but again trying to sort some stuff out through the national guidelines around particularly changing rooms, but certainly hopefully by Monday. By the middle of next week, we will have libraries open again, the City Library, our community libraries and our home delivery service. Those are probably the main things. The front counter staff at the DCC are back at the Civic Centre from Monday, the 18th. And while we don't run it directly, the Otago Museum is also opening on Saturday of this week. So a lot happening, and it was always going to be a bit much to ask for everything to reopen on day one. Moana Pool, will be open for some form of lane swimming from Monday. The leisure pool is currently getting some maintenance done, so that is empty, so not particularly helpful.
And is there anything that will remain closed or reduced under level 2? Are there some areas of the council that just can't operate as normal under level 2 restrictions?
Nothing that immediately springs to mind, although I'd be careful about suggesting that things will operate as normal. Obviously, to make sure that people are safe using these facilities and services, there will be changes to layouts and entries and exits. And for example, at Toitu, the interactive exhibitions won't be turned on because they're a disease vector, a transmission risk, anything that encourages people to touch them all the time. So there will be slight changes to the way some of things operate, and probably delays in some areas, particularly at Green Island. I would imagine as a few months of stockpiled waste and recycling gets dealt with by people. So we're just asking that people be a bit patient and kind to each other, because it will take some adjusting, I think, settling into a new way of doing things as we have adjusted into alert level 2.
And speaking a bit broader outside of just the council, do we have a clear idea what the city might look like, in the next couple of months, what we operate in, that sort of thing? Or is that still just to be determined as we go through this, the alert levels, and see what happens there nationally and regionally?
To some degree, that depends on the operators, I suppose. What we saw on Monday was a path to opening for pretty much everyone, from schools through to bars, and a staggered approach, as was signalled by government, and that some things are open for business on Thursday, and bars are last cab off the rank through the following Thursday. So I can't see in that, outside of things that require mass gatherings, so large events, sports events, stadium concerts, those sorts of things, that they seem to be a wee while off, and certainly not before we get to alert level 1. Still some significant restrictions around private gatherings, which is particularly tough when you're talking about funerals and tangi, and I saw today the Prime Minister is reviewing the rules around that, which they'd already signalled would happen in the next couple of weeks anyway. So most things broadly will be able to go in some form and at some scale over the next week. But those things, whether it's churches or rock concerts that require large groups of people to gather in one space, still look a wee while off at this point.
In terms of governments, the council is back to holding meetings and that sort of thing. And this week, a proposal was put out, or there's a proposal going in front of the one of the committees tomorrow, involving attracting people back to the CBD and making it safer for pedestrians, which has attracted some sort of criticism. What was the thoughts behind that at this stage? Why was that put out now?
The response to the proposal for the city centre that's coming to the Planning and Environment Committee meeting tomorrow has been entirely as I would have expected it would. Some people hate it and some people love it, and that seems to be how any proposal to do anything in the city centre plays out, as you would expect, because it's a part of town that everyone feels connected to, and everyone has an opinion about what purpose it should serve and what form it should take. So I don't think there's anything particularly surprising in the response to it. It responds to a request from council at our meeting last Monday on the 4th of May, which was our first meeting back, that asked staff to look at how we might encourage people back into the city centre to go shopping and go out for lunch and do those sorts of things, support those businesses, but also in a way that they feel safe to be able to do it and maintain physical distancing. So, we anticipated that even under alert level 2, there would still be a requirement for people to stay apart from strangers. And George Street has particularly narrow footpaths, and so to be able to do that, to encourage people to come back into the city centre and maintain their physical distance, you need to put those pedestrians somewhere. And short of removing all car parking spaces and giving that space over to pedestrians, the proposals that are put up, which include slowing traffic to 10 kilometres an hour so that other road users, whether you're on a skateboard or a bike or on foot, feel safe enough to use the space as well. And the evidence suggests that 10 kilometres an hour is where people feel comfortable enough to use that space. And obviously, because it involves a change in behaviour for motor vehicles, that's what's attracted the most attention out of all of the things that have been put up for discussion. But it also includes how we can support particularly hospitality businesses by letting them use more of the footpath and not charging for it, because obviously they won't be able to maintain full capacity indoors when in some places where tables are set quite closely to each other. And also the third main proposal up for discussion is whether or not to continue, and for how long to continue, offering free parking in the city centre, which we have done through alert level 4 and 3 to support essential workers in the city and people then going back to work safely. Although now we have parking services staff back on the streets enforcing time limits, but not charging people to use the car parking. But that is again another thing up for discussion at the meeting on Thursday. But the criticism of the proposals, which are temporary, and there's nothing that's being proposed that can't be turned off again overnight. The criticisms of it being a pedestrianisation by stealth, I think, are a little overblown. There will still be 2 lanes of traffic operating. There will still be the retention of the existing car parking resource on George Street. All we're doing is asking people to travel through a little slower, or if they are in more of a hurry, to take an alternate route to get through the city centre so that more people can feel safer to use the road, so that we can encourage more people back into the city centre to support businesses who have been hit pretty hard over the last few months. And that was certainly the intention of the request, and that is the outcome of that is what has been presented to committee tomorrow.
And then there's another resolution tomorrow put forward by you, I think, about investigating ways to support rail, I guess, in Dunedin. Can you tell us a little bit about that and the thoughts behind that resolution there?
The desire from our community to support greater provision of rail services is nothing new. It certainly dates back as far as our integrated transport strategy, which predates me, that was signed off in early 2013, both for freight and for passengers. In recent times, obviously, we made the difficult decision to hibernate the Dunedin Railways business, which is predominantly a tourism operation catering to an international market that in the short to medium term no longer exists. So what that meant was that we have rolling stock, we have trains sitting idle, and therefore the feasibility of running a trial to see whether the public interest in commuter rail translates into people buying tickets and using it is far easier than it ordinarily would be, because the biggest obstacle is getting a hold of trains, because they tend not to just be lying around waiting for people to use them, and we own them, so that wouldn't be particularly difficult. But the proposal comes from the RMTU, who are running a campaign called Keep Dunedin Rail Rolling, essentially looking at how to use the assets we have to explore domestic tourism operations, because we know that's where the future of tourism will be in the short to medium term, but also supporting commuter rail prospects. And so we're just asking for the support of council, or I'm asking for the support of council to look at a paper to come to our budget meeting at the end of the month, costing what that would cost. What would it cost to run a pilot for a commuter rail service, particularly in from Mosgiel, and then we can consider whether we want to invest in that as part of our budget meeting where we weigh up all of the other investment priorities that we have.
And last week, the council had the annual plan submissions, where people had the chance to come and talk about what they wanted to see in the future in budgets and for Dunedin. Can you just give us a little update on where things are at now that that period's over and what's happening with the annual plan?
So I was really impressed with the number of people who made submissions to the annual plan process, acknowledging that most people have a lot else on their mind and on their plate at the moment. So we had around 900 submissions, and close to 100 of those came in presented to council by Zoom over a 3-day period last week, and they will be considered along with updated budgets that we've asked for from staff and a few other bits and pieces that are coming to the meeting at the end of May, along with the other 800 written submissions, which will be analysed and presented back to council. So we're at the collating stage, if you like, and that will head towards our deliberations meeting, which hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be able to have with all of our elected members in the same room. That's certainly our goal at this point.
And finally, as some Dunedinites head out into the world for the first time in 7 weeks, do you have any inspiring words or thoughts for them as we move into level 2?
I don't know if it's inspiring. This is certainly exciting for a lot of people, and we've seen at every stage that people have embraced their newfound freedoms with open arms. And this is a significant step from level 3 to level 2. And so all we're asking is that people take advantage of what they now can do in terms of catching up with family and friends, going out and supporting local businesses. But it's essential that we stick to the rules that have been set out for us, because we are still asking people to make significant sacrifices, whether it's people who are grieving for loved ones, whether it's our faith communities who are unable to gather, and this, we're not on top of this yet, and we have to keep taking this as seriously through level 2 as we have through levels 3 and 4, if we want to get through the other side to alert level 1 and something closer. I feel like I've been repeating this a lot, something closer to normality. So please look after yourselves and be kind to each other. There will be a period of adjusting and to new ways of working, but this is obviously a great weekend for our social and economic well-being as a community.
Well, thank you for joining us today, Aaron. Much appreciated.
Thanks, Tim.
After the break on the South Today, we see which former All Black is set to play for the Highlanders next month, and find out who's the sports official of the year. See you after the break. Welcome back. Former All Black Nehe Milner-Skudder is reportedly set to make a return to the playing field in the Super Rugby Aotearoa competition for the Highlanders. The 29-year-old World Cup winner signed a lucrative 3-year deal with Toulon in France in 2018, but is yet to play a game for the French club due to an ongoing shoulder injury. The remainder of the French top 14 season is set to be abandoned due to the coronavirus pandemic, leading to reports in some media saying Milner-Skudder will join the Highlanders for the revamped competition, which is due to start next month. The Highlanders are scheduled to open the competition in Dunedin against the Chiefs on June 13th. Nehe Milner-Skudder's move was confirmed by the Highlanders late this afternoon. Former rugby player James Dolman took up refereeing when a broken collarbone ended his playing career 10 years ago. His dedication to being a rugby ref now sees him named Sports Official of the Year at the ASB Otago Sports Awards.
It's been a tremendous 12 months for James Dolman as Otago's leading rugby official, working as a referee both locally and overseas. He's now given up his job at Otago Rugby to work full-time as a referee.
Awesome opportunity to sort of put into practice what I've sort of been trying to get going for the past wee while. So an awesome opportunity to solely focus on becoming a better referee. So week in, week out, just dedicated to sort of my own craft.
His skills took him overseas last year as a new referee in the Under-20 World Cup, where he says he was lucky to avoid international media scrutiny.
So I sort of went there with the understanding, look, just go there and enjoy the atmosphere, enjoy the moment, enjoy each game. And with those tournaments, you have to get a little bit of luck too. So the first two games that I refereed, nothing really happened. I went there and didn't have to really yellow card anyone, didn't have to deal with foul play, just ran around, let the players play on, happy, bit of flow. Other guys had some really tough experiences and tough moments that they had to deal with.
Dolman says COVID-19 has interrupted his progress as a referee this year, with sport across the globe suddenly coming to a halt.
There's obviously bigger things going on in the world than just rugby, but yeah, it was pretty tough. I think one of our sports psychs sort of described it quite well as going through a bit of grief. With some massive moments, with players, with athletes, but also with referees. We put a lot of effort into being ready for some big events, and obviously the Olympics coming up was a big event. So to have that sort of push back a year, you almost go through a little bit of grief during that process. So you come out of it pretty quickly when you realise that there's bigger things going on in the world than just sport.
In Dunedin, the South Today.
Now time for a look at the weather.
Tonight's weather proudly brought to you by Mole Map.
Beginning with the situation, a weakening cold front arrives over southern districts tomorrow, bringing a brief southwesterly change and a few showers. But the weather should improve tomorrow night, leading to a fine spell from Friday through the weekend. In the southern towns, a southwesterly change and showers later are the order of the day. The Catlins and Balclutha head for 16 degrees, while Lumsden and Gore should reach 15. Heading to the Central Lakes, you're all due for moderate northwesterlies and showers later. Wanaka and Queenstown should reach 16 degrees, while Alexandra heads for 18, and Te Anau you're due for 15 degrees and showers later. In the northern towns, moderate northerlies and scattered high cloud reign supreme here. Timaru aims for 17 and Oamaru should get to 16 degrees, while Twizel and Omarama are both expecting 17 degrees. In Dunedin, expect low cloud and winds with an overnight low of 9 degrees. Low cloud at first tomorrow breaks with sunny periods and high cloud during the day ahead of a southerly change. Expect a high of 16 and a low of 8 degrees. It'll be cold on Friday with a mix of sunny periods and cloud, a high of 12 and a low of 6 degrees. Heading to Invercargill, cloudy tonight with northerlies and an overnight low of 9 degrees. It'll be cloudy tomorrow with moderate northwesterlies at first, but a period of showers and colder gusty southwest winds in the afternoon. You should have a high of 15 and a low of 8 degrees. It'll be mostly fine on Friday, expect a high of 13 and a low of 5. And that's all from the South Today team for this Wednesday. For the latest news from the southern region, head online to odt.co.nz and follow Channel 39 on Facebook and YouTube. And stay tuned to Channel 39 for the latest COVID-19 updates from the government. Remember, we're still in our level 3 bubbles until tomorrow in most cases. Have a great evening. Ka kite anō. See you tomorrow.
This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.